But you unfiltered too, I see.
I know. I haven't gotten the filter to work in this computer yet, so shoot, next time I'll get one going for you guys. So let's
Either
see.
way
Yeah, I'm
is
so
good.
excited. I got a webcam now for my gaming
Ooh.
laptop, so I'm like, I gotta actually download Snapchat Lens on this
Yeah.
one, so I can actually like get into the filters again. So exciting. It's so funny. I messaged Stella too, like
Uh-huh.
mom's call is starting because she always messages everyone. And
Oh, yeah?
LOL.
Nice. And then she's like, bye.
Yeah.
No worries. Cool.
Well, this is cool that it's just us. So did you want to kick it off then, Kalau, and I guess give
Sure.
an update on how things have been and what you've been up to? I know you just said you're getting into Blender. So exciting. That's something
Yeah,
I'm
man.
trying to get into slowly as well.
Yeah, sure. So, what do you guys prefer? Do you prefer that we like kind of each like have like a larger explanation per person, or we can start like saying our nice thing per week, and then we can like go again around and say more specifically like what we're doing? What do you think?
Yeah, I guess since we're a smaller group, we can just start by saying our nice thing, everybody, and then we'll go back around and dig into it some.
Perfect. That sounds good to me. Cool. I can go first. Let's see. What was my nice thing? Yeah, I feel like I always connected to like stuff I'm doing for work, or I guess I don't know. It doesn't feel like work since like it's all really about building something new. But I'm excited because I'm like right now transitioning my freelance. I work normally as a bag designer for like luxury or people wanting to start their bags, but it's really, I want to align it more with what I'm doing like here and with Entourage. And so I'm trying to now build kind of like a consultancy kind of thing where I do kind of creative direction for fashion NFT projects or like spaces or something like that. So I think, yeah, I also felt like I was really attached to Entourage, like it's really my baby, but then it's kind of like if we're making DAOs and like decentralization, I think we might need to kind of like take a step back sometimes, since now this is such a different approach of like letting the community really like come in and have a say. And so I think having this kind of consultancy side is like helping to balance what I'm doing. But that was like my epiphany I had this week, so for me, it was a good
I
thing.
love that, Kalal. I had the same epiphany basically, where I was like, you know, as founders, there's a lot more that we have to do kind of hands-on to like help push per se.
Yeah.
You know, and sometimes where the community isn't able to like make final decisions, sometimes it's like, okay, this is what we got to do. You know, if anybody has anything to say, you know, say it. Otherwise, you know, kind of just start ironing things out. But creating those processes and outlines where the community can kind of just take the lead and allow us to, you know, focus on ourselves as artists as well, since it is a DAO. So I think that's a really great point. I did the same thing. I mean, or maybe you guys don't know, but I also have like a simple intro to crypto course.
I want to take this. I was going to message you and ask. So send me the thing. I want to take it.
Yeah, I could send it for sure. And so I also do like one-on-one like Q&A, and my husband would usually like be there because he is like super, he was in the stocks before crypto. Like his family has like a whole investing firm, so it's like something that is like never been foreign to him, so he understands a lot more. So we also offer like a one-on-one thing, and I got a new client that I'll be meeting with like frequently to kind of like just help get them like up to date on what's going on. We also have like a Patreon. We have a couple different avenues for stuff where it's like we just post the videos that are like on YouTube all day, or like articles and like the resources to like keep people like learning, instead of being like, oh, you know, here's when you want to buy and here's when you want to trade. Like that's not what we teach at all. It's like, here's how you go do your own research. Here's the people that you want to follow. Here are the real conferences that are happening by these IMFs and the people that are kind of like orchestrating all this stuff so that you can, you know, plan accordingly and be successful. So I got a new client, and I'm trying to figure out how to like also create this schedule where it's like I put it on my wall, like I wrote it in my little notebook and organized it really well. But I called it the 365 days of being consistent. And I have like these different areas in my life. I have my dog business, teaching my son, we're live streaming on YouTube, my own NFTs, and then like raw DAO.
It's a lot.
And all the things I have to do every single day, you know, so that a year from now I can see some really good fruit, you know, from this labor that I'm planting right now. Yeah. So that's my good thing. I also kind of shifted that focus to be like, you know, just create this foundation for the DAO, let it start running itself, and then refocus my energy on just all the stuff that I can do behind the scenes to make sure all this stuff, you know, does the best that it can a year from now.
Yeah, I think we had similar realizations. How about you, Anatarian and Delight? What was your exciting or special thing or revelation? There should be a hand-raising thing in here, like in Zoom.
Yeah,
no.
Do you want to go first, Anatarian?
Sure.
I agree.
Well, I loved what you were saying, Mo, and if you ever have a course on just organizing all of those things, because I feel like I have like as long as a list as you do, but I just have to find a way to organize them. So I'm finding ways. I am finding ways. You know, this week or last week, I've just been exploring more, and I thought, well, the revelation, because I haven't gotten as much done as I would like. I did start working at the Fabricant last week, so I was just kind of putting like pieces together and figuring out, you know, Discord and all that stuff. But just, I don't know if it's spiritual or just kind of like a worldview type of revelation, was that, you know, being so, I've always strived for better and better and better. And last week I realized, well, what if it doesn't need to get better? And what if I can just be okay with the present and how it is? Because I feel like the better has got me into the not enough, it's not good enough, and maybe not being as present. So that's what and it's helped me. Yeah. You know, it's not like giving up on better or, but it's kind of this like, it's not this like hope for the better, you know, it's the being present with what is now and celebrating what there is now. So, no.
Yeah, that's super nice. Yeah. I think, it's kind of like a form of meditation, no? Like being present. And like, I think it's really hard because everything is moving so fast, and every day you see more projects that come out, you get FOMO and all this stuff. And I think also, right, that's what we're trying to avoid, is like making too much excess, like burning out. Like these are all things that we're trying to get away from. But I think, right, with all these different time zones, with all this, seeing all this noise already in these platforms, it's hard. So we'll take your advice as well for a realization.
Yeah, and I really like that as well. It's funny, I did make like a little triangular system with how I can like cycle everything. So I'm going to put that together, and I'll definitely share it for you, Anatarian.
Thank you.
For sure. And to piggyback off of that, I was in this Twitter space on Mondays. There's like moms that get together in the morning. So we always chat there. And one mom said something that kind of reminded me of what you just said, which was, being more like harmonious. Like there's no way to balance it, and we always chase like trying to balance things.
Yeah.
But that feels impossible because it's like some things are weighted more sometimes, and then things pop up, and then that balance beam can slide the other way. And then that's how we kind of get flustered, because it's like we're trying so hard to balance like everything. It's like you can't, you know, and in those times we have to just kind of rely more on like harmony and faith and be like, you know what, I've got this. This is what I can do now. And, you know, just being present in that moment, I think is beautiful, how you said.
Yeah. Yeah. And I like the idea of harmony too, because it's like there's so many songs, they're endless. And it's like if you play all the notes at the same time or try, you know, looking for balance, it just sounds, it doesn't make sense.
Like a mess.
It's not even possible.
Yeah.
Yeah, so thank you.
Cool. How about you, Delight?
Well, yeah, Anatarian's revelation has stuck with me as well. So that was really good to hear that. And then, excuse me, for myself, one thing yesterday was just a good reminder. Like I was looking at I was doing some like PHP programming, and I was kind of stuck on something, and I looked at it, and, you know, and I didn't immediately have the answer to how to solve this issue, but I looked at it, then I went away from it. I ended up I do mindful movement, so moving meditation essentially.
Cool.
And during that, it was a good reminder, because during that I solved the problem, just not even, you know, when I went away from it, which is, it's like one of those things I've realized and forgotten, you know, countless times through as long as I can remember. But that was just a good reminder, like not to just sit at the computer and grind and just try to keep pushing, just to like step away, get a fresh mind and clear the decks. And it just came, you know, the answers often just come. And also part of it was also, there's the thing about asking yourself the question, you know. So I was listening to a book not too long ago. I hadn't heard this before, but, you know, there's sort of the affirmation, the idea of doing affirmations where you say, I am doing such and such, I am wealthy, I am whatever, pick your thing, I am healthy. But in this book, they were talking about how a declarative statement like that is not as effective as actually asking yourself a question. When you ask yourself the question, it engages your brain in a different way. And then you sort of find the answer. So that was another good reminder for me yesterday.
Super nice. Yeah. Right? Because what if you're saying like, I am wealthy, but then like maybe that's not your goal at the moment. Maybe you want to be meditating or something else. So I think that's really smart. Yeah,
and even like whatever it is, let's say let's say I feel peace in my body. Let's say that's what I want to feel. Then I might say, how can I feel peace in my body? Or do I feel peace in my body? I'm not exactly sure how to frame that, but the asking of it, just changing it from a statement to a question.
Got it. And I think that relates well to what Anatarian was saying about like being present, because then it maybe pulls you from like a very aspirational dream-like place to something where you're in your body and you're like, okay, like let's listen and try to hear if like what I'm demanding of myself is like realistic, or if I should be asking questions instead.
Right. Yeah. Good point. Yeah. Exactly.
I'd be curious to know, like, what kind of movements is, like, movement meditation? Is it kind of like, I imagine, like, Tai Chi. Or is it whatever you want?
Well, what's cool is it's not prescribed movements. So it's really about feeling into your body and just seeing what your body wants next. You know, so really just tuning in and following the feeling and moving in that way. And so it's just, it's self-guided. I mean, the instructor, the facilitator gives suggestions or, but it's not prescribed like, okay, now turn your, bring your elbow up and turn it to the left or any of that. It's more like maybe finding some pressing or engaging your muscles and then letting them go, or even letting them go and then letting them go even more. Okay. It's hard to explain, but it's really good. I've been doing it for like 15, probably more than 15 years at this point.
You're pro.
And we even do.
You can lead us through it one day.
I actually do this thing. We do this. We have a workshop called the Non-Performance Workshop. Okay. So it's all about just being present and just being however you would be. So, it's really good.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, and welcome. Where is the data? Shout out. How are you? I was welcoming where is the data? Or data. Oh, yeah. That's a whole new discussion.
Hi. It can be data or data. Depends where you come from. I'm Scotland. I say data.
Data. I say data. America.
It's fine. I don't mind. What you were just talking about sounded like Q Kung. I don't know if you know the Gong Qigong.
Do you know? Yeah.
Is it like that? It's just kind of like Chinese kind of movement exercises around like behavioral therapy and mindfulness. A bit like CBT, cognitive behavioral therapy.
Well, it's related. It's more about, out of all those, it's more about mindfulness. Yeah. But like Qigong, when I've done Qigong, it's been more prescribed movements. Right. Whereas this is not that, but they're all trying to achieve the same thing, essentially. Create, flow and freedom in your body.
Yeah, that's really good.
Awesome. Yeah, it's really good. Actually, if anyone ever wants to come on Fridays, through my family, my mom founded Women in Technology International, WITI, and my brother and I helped her way back, and so through that we offer this instructor does a free class on Fridays.
Cool.
Fridays noontime Pacific, U.S. Pacific time.
Nice. Would you drop is there a link you could drop in the chat maybe?
Sorry. Oh, sure. Yeah.
That'd be awesome.
So anyone wants to come, let me know. Oh, yeah, and I'll put a link to it. And there's a charge on there, but I'll comp anyone, but I'll put the link to the thing.
Cool.
That's very kind of you. I think I might be not eligible, or time-wise, but it's very kind. And I do try and do things like that anyway in my neck of the woods. And there's quite a lot of mindfulness and physical kind of therapies around in Glasgow, and that's good. My sister does alternative medicine. My aunt did CBT therapies, and like all that kind of wellness stuff is really big here, especially with diets now.
Yeah, you're immersed in this.
Quite rightly, and because we're so close to the environment, there's like amazing hills and nature. You'd be crazy not to get up the hills and go out for a walk and, and experience things that are bigger than you.
Yeah.
So, yeah, we're very lucky.
Awesome. Yeah, so where's the data? We were kind of... Oh, sorry. Oh, I'll just... And so, hey, Vlad, welcome also to you. We were having... we started by saying, like, a revelation or, like, a nice thing that happened during the week. And, we went to this mindfulness topic. So that was just to kind of recap. So maybe do you have a nice thing that happened this week to both Where's the Data and Vlad? Or something about mindfulness? Either way.
Well, the best thing that happened for me is I literally just downloaded Blender for the first time, so I'm stepping in it over my head. We can say learning curve, but we'll get there.
We're at the same spot. I have to start tonight, so if you have any videos, send it over.
That's fantastic. I'd love to do that as well. I think I'm going to have to get around to it one day. It seems like everyone's using it, and do a crash course.
Exactly. So what happened? Where's the data? Did you have something for this week that was insightful?
Yeah. I mean, I actually had a really long call with a guy who's from California, who's basically like a Bitcoin billionaire, and like he was quite coy about it. Like initially, we ended up talking to me for like 3 hours on the phone. I just connected on Twitter, and it turns out he owns this vineyard, and like he's like, come over, and I'm like, well, we've come over to Scotland first. And it was just a really good conversation about like the history of money, because he's like a trader, and he's in his late 30s, but has a lot of experience with like traditional finance and like how the money markets have moved, and how we're currently in a bit of a, like we are in a bubble. He calls it an everything bubble. And that was just a really interesting conversation to speak to someone who's like really well connected, really well experienced, really sort of sees the bigger picture and philosophy in and around the creation of money and the economics around it. Plus, obviously, he's got money to spend, so maybe he could help out with some of the projects. So that was an interesting call I had. It was kind of out of the blue because I just texted him on Twitter after listening to him on a Twitter space. That was Mobile Coin, which is a sort of a carbon positive transactional currency.
Cool. Did he say anything, like, when did you mention any kind of, like, digital fashion or any of, like, the projects you were working on? Did he have thoughts?
Yes. Well, he emailed me immediately back after the call and goes asking me loads of questions, like basically thinking I need investment, thinking, well, the reason I was speaking for so long was because I wanted his money, or I didn't care. But, the first thing I always say, investors, I don't need any investment. That's the kind of number one rule. But he did have some questions on that front. So after reading the website, he'd obviously read through things I talked about. I had mentioned you guys. I put Alana Web3 Go in as a link in return to that website. I basically said, come to Scotland. So he'll probably be checking you out. But, I don't know how serious he is going to start putting serious money into it. He's a financial trader. But he said he'd talk at the festival and he'd attend if I pay for his flight. But I'm just like, well, you pay for it.
You have a bunch of money.
I basically said, let's create a business reason for you to come.
Okay. That sounds good.
Yeah. We'll see.
Awesome. Sounds like a very good call.
I know, and I'm really surprised by this whole Twitter thing, because and just the spaces and just being able to make direct connections like that. It's pretty unprecedented, especially if the room isn't very big, say 20 listeners, and you just like them and send them a message, ask them a question, and get straight back to you. And these are like CEOs of companies, and often you don't even know how important they are.
Right. It's a surprise after, and you're like, oh my God, I was talking to this person. Yeah, the other, I don't know, it was a couple of weeks ago, I was on a space, and then I got invited to speak about digital fashion, and it was with Talia. And I'm like, oh, I don't know who Talia is. But, like, she seems to have a lot of followers. And then like my friend,
Yeah.
she's like a Latin pop queen. Like, what do you mean you were talking to Talia? I'm like,
Yeah.
oh, I don't
I love
know.
it.
But it was quite funny. Cool. Well, so let's see. We're about halfway through. Maybe next we could go through again, and like if we had something maybe more on what we were working, if you want looking for feedback on something. I don't have the list that says like what we said last week, so we might have to just try to remember what we said. But yeah.
Yeah, we actually haven't been setting those goals like we did initially. Everybody's kind of just been talking about how their week has been and the things that they're working on. So I think that's a good place to start.
Cool. Do you guys like setting the goals, or do you prefer have it more casual?
I think 50-50, because the goals help, especially as a group. Our whole point is like, kind of looking into these different areas, coming together to see how we can like help each other and, collab ideas. So it was kind of cool in the beginning how we each kind of had a different focus to come back with.
Yeah.
But I think without even setting the goals, we were kind of doing the same subconsciously.
Yeah.
Like, okay, that's where you were last week. This is where you're at now. And kind of like watching everybody on their path find their way.
Yeah. Perfect.
Yeah, I'm the same. I think it does help to have tasks because I forget things. I like referring back to them, remembering what you've talked about because there's so many different channels as well that I have. And so I think the idea of having tasks somewhere recorded is good. Yeah. But I'm not sure how we do that.
I think Stella has been, if I'm not. I'm sure she will be back and doing it again next week. So, but yeah, maybe we want to. Someone wants to start first. Anybody? Or I can pick you if you want.
I will. I've got a lot of stuff brewing, so I don't mind kicking it off.
In the stew, the Dow stew, the 3D fashion stew.
Oh yeah, I've got so much going on. So 2 things, because I don't want to keep you guys too long. But one, I am actually going to share my screen so that you guys can see the awesomeness. Okay, so we are all in this Web3 space, right? Right. And it's like we're all trying to learn stuff. We're all trying to find resources. We're all making resources. But there's no like hub for stuff, right? At least not like one that's like the hub. So the Raw DAO is basically trying to become the hub for networking and education, especially because we focus on helping people go physical to digital. So, and we're right now like building a metaverse hub in Neo's metaverse, but we're also working with a few engineers from Unreal Engine 5 that I mentioned last week to kind of build like our grand campus. Mm-hmm. But the idea is to basically have like a raw campus in each metaverse so that no matter what metaverse you're in, you can go find the raw university. And, if we're streaming workshops or on Twitch, like whatever we're streaming, you can go to each hub to kind of watch, have networking events and stuff like that. But, so the 2 things that come from that is we're building out this resource library. So this is something we have called The Brain, where we all like create the resources together. And one thing we've been working on is called SOPs. Now, I think all of you guys come from a pretty professional background, so you already know what SOPs are. For those that don't, it literally just stands for Standard Operating Procedures, which just means the outline for how things are supposed to be done. So it includes things like the goal, who's involved, a step-by-step process, like literally how to make a peanut butter and jelly like we did in 1st grade. Well, we're all
tie your shoes.
I don't know how you guys learned about it, but, we go through that lesson like you got to get the jelly and the peanut butter and step-by-step it and make sure it makes sense. And then also other resources. So for SOPs in our brain, we're basically trying to create processes on how you do everything. So we've kind of categorized it into the basics for businesses, for crypto, for NFT artists, for the physical to digital process. And then we have one exclusive for our raw DAO. So as people come in, they can kind of follow it. So one example I can show is like here. So we wrote a template, and this is the template so that anybody can come and copy the template and then like add to it. And then here is one that I actually completed for like how you make a SOP. And here again, you can see like all the kind of people involved. These are our 5 roles that we have in our group. And this is where we put like, you know, maybe if it's just for educators and strategists, and we can kind of differentiate. But then again, going through the step-by-step process, linking different links. Oh, and then a glossary. I forgot to mention the glossary,
cool.
Which is important though, you know, because now it's like, oh, this is how to make SOPs. So one that like a lot of people can actually look at. So like SOPs for NFT artists. I made one for like using our season or using our theme, because we have a theme that we do for each season, and it goes and tells like NFT artists, strategists, and creatives how they can use our theme. But also more general for NFT artists is actually like planning a roadmap. So I actually wrote out, like, I made our roadmap. So simultaneously, I also made like a SOP for how to actually do roadmap planning, so that any NFT artist, any business in general, anybody that is making a roadmap can come and create one. Like right now, I'm also making our white paper. So I would make like a SOP for how to do a white paper. And something that we are really, really going for, especially with NFT artists, like Kalal, how you were saying you're about to do Blender. We want to have an SOP for how to do literally everything. How to make filters, how to use Snapchat Lens, how to use Dash 3D, how to use Blender, and it can go like as specific or as broad. But the idea is to get, you know, a bunch of different people adding their own like knowledge into this brain of SOPs to kind of help people like figure out how to do stuff. And we have a website that we're like building out right now that we would be like sharing all this stuff on, and then creating like a system for you to input it, somebody else check it, somebody else test it, and then kind of keep building out from there. But this is like one of our really big missions right now, is building out this SOP library so that it can start to help the people in the space and however we can. And so that's all I had to share from there. And so the second thing is we are hosting a physical to digital fashion show.
Ooh.
Boom. I know, crazy. And I'm not going to give no secrets to how we're about to do it, but just know it's going to be epic and crazy. And one of our members, Musashi, he's also a member of Metagames, and they're having a big workshop that same weekend as well, or that really all of June. It was a pretty big workshop that they're having. So initially we were thinking of having like this workshop that was like exploring the layers of the metaverse, and we were going to ask Entourage and like Dress X and Jevels to kind of come in and talk, to Kai, and talk about like, you know, XR and VR and MR and just literally all the layers of what we're doing, and kind of do some workshops and stuff like that. But because Metagames is having this big, massive workshop, we're thinking of maybe pivoting and just focusing on our runway show for this season, and then having that big workshop our next season, since every season we want to have a workshop anyway. So, you know, when we do our own, that's where we can come in. And then that also gives us time to really like talk to the speakers, give everyone time, give us more time to promote and like create our metaverse where we can host our own workshop, like we ideally are shooting for. So super exciting to do that. We're trying to get some details now so that we can actually start telling artists, like, if you want to be a part of our fashion show, here's what you have to do so that you can be a part of it, and we can start putting that together. So that's been really exciting, because our whole thing, like you and I had both mentioned before, is like, you know, I don't want to be over here doing everything. We're just trying to create processes that the DAO can start to do itself, and at that point, it can be very like fluid and easy, and people know where to go to find their answers, and where to go to add answers, and where to go to add value. So very exciting, like building out these different things that we feel are putting us in our own lane per se, and trying to solve these different problems that we've, you know, seen in the industry, that we're trying to make that our focus. You know, we would like a marketplace, sure, because of we're in physical to digital. It makes sense. Essentially, everybody would have their own marketplace, sure. But that wasn't our initial idea when we went independent. Like, hey, there's a lot of other areas in the space that need more focus than another marketplace. So what are some things that we can like really build as a Web3 project that can add to the space? So it's been really exciting, like coming up with these ideas. I was in one space today and DressX was actually in there with like One Closet and Jebbles. And DressX mentioned like, oh, there needs to be like this reference library. And I'm like, and behind the comments, like, yes, that's what I'm saying. We got that over here. So I'm over here like trying to get our white paper together so that we can actually start sending it to other people. We're planning on partnering with educational institutions and different protocols and different marketplaces, like even our peer review for marketplaces. We're starting that initiative where if you mint on a marketplace, we'll have a scorecard where you can give a review on what it was like minting on that marketplace to, again, help the next NFT artist when they're trying to figure out what marketplace they want to use and why it would be best over another one. So just trying to figure out like how to actually start putting this together, putting it out there. I've been calling it like packaging. We need to be like packaging these ideas so that we can be presenting it to the public so that people can start understanding what we're doing. Otherwise, I feel like I end up kind of like rambling on for hours at time. So that's what we've been working on and super excited about it.
I love it. I love the templates. It's super easy, and I like that you just duplicate it, and then you can just take that information and then put it on your website. It's very nice.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, and you know what? Let me share my screen one more time because I actually have something really, really cool to show about.
Oh, even cooler.
So, I know, right? One more, last one. So, in this thing that I made here, which actually us using SOPs, so in the raw DAO, SOP creation. So, I actually have used these to also make cool YouTube videos. So, like, here's where you would actually be able to, that's the Google Drive, but here's where you would actually be able to copy the template. But I also made cool YouTube videos with me actually like recording how to do it. Cool. And in my YouTube video, if you see here, oh man, I didn't even have my avatar for this one. Okay.
Oh, you got your avatar in there?
Yes, I do. Look, this is my avatar.
Whoa.
On YouTube with.
Oh my god, you have to show me how to do this.
Yes, I'm so geeked up about that part. So now when I make the SOP, I just make like a quick video here, like, oh, this is how to create a roadmap. And I kind of read through my SOP and then share it on YouTube.
Wow.
And then I pick like clips from there and then repost it on like social media. That's kind of that triangular system I told you guys I kind of built out with like content creation and then sharing it fluidly through all these social media things.
I love this avatar. So cool.
I know. I was like, oh, I couldn't forget the most important thing about like actually sharing it. It's so exciting. That was my exciting thing as well for the week. But once we went like mindset, I was like, oh yeah, I felt that this week too. And as you can see, I'm like, let me figure out how I can get back into my education. Like that's what I like doing. Like building is great. I love building, especially like the behind the scenes SOPs. That's why I even made SOPs. Like I'm a corporate shorty, as they would call it in America. And so it's kind of fun doing that part, but really being able to like get creative, create educational content that's going to help people. Those are like my passions, and being able to use an avatar. I've been trying so hard to do that. And it'll be really cool when I can actually bring my own little avatar, Phoenix, that I made and have her representing me. But until then, it's been cool to also have different avatars and like, not just feel stuck to one to embody me, because even with this one, it's like I want to have two, and I want to have multiple for different audiences. So it's been cool to, again, use multiple avatars so that I don't feel attached. Like this one is me, because I am me, and this is an avatar Phoenix that is in the metaverse.
Yeah, that's a good point. Awesome. Cool. Does anyone have any like quick feedbacks for Mo or any ideas?
I think it's absolutely fantastic. I love it. The brain, you call it, or whatever it is. I want to access your brain because it's so productive and creative. Honestly, if it existed in a big corporation, they'd be sacking entire QS departments and replacing it with you, because you can do a better job of, I don't know, an army of folks trying to design documentation that is, often too complex and not simplified. But what you described and showed there was, and I love it. I'd love to try and use some of it as well, just for showcasing what you can do, and promoting your DAO, really, in the festival, if I can.
I would love that. And that's why I wanted to present it to you all, because I know everybody here knows something, so everybody can add to the brain, and tell your communities to add to the brain. And right now, the only way you can access it is through our Discord and clicking the Google Drive link, but then you have access to it, of course, from there. So that's why we're trying to eventually get it onto our website, where it can be a lot more public for people to be able to submit a SOP and then have somebody else review it, and then someone else test it, and then it go public from there. But right now, while we're kind of in this beta stage, the more people that we have from different backgrounds, especially you, where's the data? I know you are super informed in different spaces. One of our moderators, Havo, and I think you guys are probably familiar with him as well. He has a crypto background as well, and he's the one that was like, hey, I can make SOPs with how to set up a MetaMask and how to set up the different wallets, and it's yes, exactly, let's do it. So,
it sounds boring to most people, but honestly, that boring stuff, it means that you can move on to the really creative industries, creative things.
And everybody level up together.
Having to be repeating over and over the same thing, because that's often what happens in businesses and professional practices, because there is no standard procedure, because every individual acts themselves like a bunch of cats, and ends up just repeating the same work someone right next to them has done.
Yeah. It's an incredible newbie in this, from the very new guy, first perspective coming in. Something like that is incredibly valuable. But I will give you one suggestion, just maybe to try to help. Have you thought about trying to leverage the old school wiki that is around? Because I'm sorry, it sounds like you're basically trying to reinvent that. I'm not saying you can't improve upon it, but you might want to try to leverage what's already there, because that might boost you a lot faster into the position you want to be.
Yeah, and that's a really good point. And it was funny when because we've been working on this for maybe a month now, maybe a month or so plus. But a week or two ago, there was that big debacle when it was Wikipedia is not allowing any articles about Web3 and crypto and NFTs. They're blocking a bunch of that stuff.
What?
And all of us in the raw DAO are exactly. You see, this is why we have to build our own new library.
No, I agree. I wouldn't use one of the existing Wikipedias or that kind of thing, because you're right. There's a ton of censorship out there, but they do have the same program or the same basic stuff that is available open source, where you can leverage it and run your own wiki.
Oh.
And you can do that. That's what I'm trying to say.
There's loads of them on Open Commons, and they look a bit like Wikipedia. And I can send you some links to some Dutch ones that I know about. Completely open source. And it's just a really good framework to use, because, in terms of code, I think it's quite efficient, and obviously it's fast online.
Cool.
Sorry, man. Not trying to tell you how to run your stuff. Just trying to help where I can.
I think maybe
appreciate that feedback. Yeah. Especially we are all about open source. I've been trying to learn how to fork a smart contract to kind of get our governance token back out there. So this kind of just puts me in super excited to keep going into that open source, finding out how to fork these codes that are already written. Because like you said, we don't have to reinvent the wheel. We only have to do it 10% better, and then we'll be better off. So definitely appreciate that.
Yeah, that was awesome, Motaso. I think what you're doing is fantastic. And I love that it's visually appealing, too.
Very easy to read.
Simple. Simple, but detailed, get to the point.
Yeah, totally.
Agreed. Cool.
Yeah, thank you for sharing. That's great.
Yeah. Awesome. So we have about 10 minutes left. is it okay if I share something from my side? I wanted to get your guys' feedback, if that's okay.
Yeah. Yes.
All right, Mo, I think we're going through like very similar things. So I don't know like how much I've chatted about like Entourage with you guys. But so basically kind of like where we are at, it's like I guess I began by myself. I like kind of established a set of values of like taking my experience in fashion, like working in luxury, working out of luxury, and like how can we create like kind of like a brand of the future that is like leveraging Web3, co-created. And so that's kind of where it started. And then like came across Web3, started to learn about what all these things are. And then like started to meet all these people as I was doing research. And so we have now about like 10 of us in like our core team. And so we kind of needed this moment to like come together and like really think, okay, what is Entourage? Try to align on it. And then be able to really like open it up again and like move forward. And so I made this like crazy looking document, which I'll also put in the chat. But it's basically, so our goal is, I can kind of read what our statement is. So we're an emerging DAO-led fashion label, leveraging blockchain to create interoperable collections across physical, augmented, and digital. So we're working on a collection around that. We're also going to be launching our marketplace soon. But for me, to really say we're a DAO-led fashion label, we have to start opening up again to kind of really start connecting with the community, see how really kind of anyone who's interested in building in Web3 fashion can get involved. And for me, it's been hard to figure out what's the balance between like complete decentralization and just like no kind of like guide versus some kind of organization. And like I'm a very, like in my mind, I like boxes, I like to understand, I like most processes, and so I'm trying to find kind of a mix of that. So not trying to bring hierarchy into it, but to be able to still have a fluid conversation, but then efficiency. So I'm also American, so maybe this is a thing. But yeah, Mo, like we're also trying to work on like some wikis, would be happy to try to consolidate that at some point. I think yours that you have are very clear and like very ready for a website. And I think what we've started like on Notion is just kind of just ideating before it kind of gets to that final process. But then, yeah, I'd love to know those open source wikis too as we start to build that. So kind of what is next. And so right now, I spoke about it last week, but I'm resetting the Discord to be like this very clear step-by-step process on how to kind of like figure out what people are looking for from Entourage. So we've made kind of 3 categories. The first is like connect. The second, and that's just about like chat, events, anyone can join. The second one is contribute, and that will kind of lead through an onboarding process to join the DAO. And then the third is co-create, and that will be kind of like our seasons moving forward to make these collections, since like as a brand, that's like our main goal. And so started that process and then started to think, okay, like how do we kind of like set up a decentralized fashion label? We came up with this idea of spheres. I think like we have similar ideas, Mo, like there's different kind of departments, and within that people kind of like can more freely take responsibility for one thing, several things. So started to kind of break those out into what do we need in a decentralized fashion label. So we started with like 7 spheres is what we call them. And the idea is that it's really to kind of like up level your skill according to how like the kind of things you're looking for to grow in, or the skills you already have. So we created this personality test, which we'll relaunch next week. So I really will be looking forward to you all testing this and giving feedback. So then you'll go through that process, do something like complete kind of like a first mission to onboard to the DAO. But in that process, choose a sphere. So right now we have all these different kind of spheres that I've tried to identify are needed in the ecosystem. And so for that, I'm still in the process of like, what is like a recap of what that sphere means? What are objectives for that sphere? What are like some missions? we started to work also like with, I think you guys too, on D work. So it's all organized by sphere. So you would choose one or two and then you can directly work in this software, which is like super, I think, pretty understandable. And so trying to like make that clear about what are the objectives. I also am liking the idea of trying to onboard people from Web 2 fashion and make it like, approachable. So I tried to kind of compare it to maybe some traditional positions in fashion, in a fashion label. We have like a weekly meeting, but then also record our calls in case, right, time zones don't work out. And this is also something I would maybe like feedback. We only have 5 minutes left, so I'll go fast. So we have right now kind of our core team, and the goal is really to not have hierarchy, but to be kind of more of a moderator, arranging meetings, kind of just keeping like the meetings on task. So I see that as the role of the guides more than just, right, a manager. So that is right now, like we could have like between 1 to 3 guides for each sphere. And kind of within that, so now anyone can see maybe something they're interested in, be onboarded through the training process, and then join that sphere. And then they would maybe choose one of these roles, or they would come up with a new role, and then like add their name here. So like, right, I was getting a hard time having visibility on, like, people didn't understand what the spheres were, and they didn't understand what they could do. So I created this document, to try to explain that. Here, I'll also put the link in the chat. If you want to join, you're also free. I'll send you to the Discord to like test out the onboarding process. This is like the spot where we can like add names. Also, I think something that's good to also remember is like in Web3, we're very eager to join everything. I'm trying to tell myself to try to think more strategically and just more honestly about what I can do. So I just feel like that's worth mentioning. But yeah, that's a lot of me rambling, and I'll put the link in if you guys just want to take a look and give some comments. Would be very much appreciated.
I like what you're doing there, Cloud, trying to like organize your information. I can say from an outsider looking in, one thing that your brand has always exuded is what you want, which I think is a good thing. Like, I definitely see Entourage as like this luxurious brand because it has such a sense of like mystery to it. Like, how you guys kind of word everything. Like, even that one time where I'm like, what is LTL? Like, what is this? And it kind of, exactly, all made up. Metarality, like all these words, I'm like, I don't even know how to say half of them, but like I'm getting familiar with them the more and more that I see you guys like growing, and I think that gives it like this luxurious touch. But then, like you said, it's like that double-edged sword, because I also see in your community like some people like asking a lot of questions, and then it causes that conflict on where we first started, where you don't want to have to be the one that has to sit there and be able to answer all those questions or walk people through this, where the system that you're now creating kind of will be that guide to help people join, find their place, get to what they can get to, and then can ask more effective questions on how they can add to it. And I think that always is, helpful. I tell people, like, do your own research first so that you can start to ask better questions, So I think what you're doing, it knocks out a lot of those first few steps that people might have questions about, so that it's like, now, okay, here's where I am, here's what I can do, now what do I do? So I think you're definitely on the right direction with like how you're packaging it. That's what my favorite word is.
Cool. Thanks, Mom.
One thing, it's not necessarily towards yours, but towards the whole Web3 concept that kind of works for everybody. If there were, I don't know how familiar any of you are with the dark web, but they've got what they call the Hidden Wiki. And basically what it does is it's basically a links page, because on the dark web, the pages change all the time because they get taken down for all the nefarious things that they do or whatever. So they have this Hidden Wiki. I'm an author, so I ended up doing a whole research into it to try to write some other stuff that I was doing. And basically it's a links page, and they've broken down what these things are, and they have a regular, normal web page that links you to places where you can then branch off and find what you're looking for in this constantly branching, changing thing. Mm-hmm. If Web3 had something like that, you could get to the DAOs, get to the sites, get to the groups that were more towards your interest, so you wouldn't have people going into things that weren't necessarily the best fit for them, just because it was the only place they could learn. I'm not upset that I'm here. I am not a fashion guy, but I am not upset that I am here because I am learning so much from you people, and I am grateful for all of you for teaching me. And I'm trying to contribute where I can, but I'm not a fashion butterfly. So
butterfly. That sounds really interesting. Yeah, because kind of like what you're saying is like people who are searching a specific thing, right? They may, yeah, because I think that's also something like they don't need to have these skills. It's just like they want to learn those skills. And so, yeah, finding a way of collecting, trying to tap into that. Of like, what are people wanting to learn, and then lead them to discover where they can grow in those skills.
Don't get me wrong, because I've gotten here, I've come up with an idea that I think has fashion ties that has gotten me into a whole new rabbit hole of things that I never thought I would be dealing with. But I'm excited, which, by the way, if anybody wants to hang out for 5 minutes afterwards so I'm not manipulating everybody's time and try and help a newbie along, I would really appreciate it. But other than that, I'll get out of your hair.
Perfect. Thanks for the feedback. But yeah, so I guess we're at our time. So if anyone's got to jump, no problem. But yeah, I have 5 minutes. I can stay and see what you got.
Okay. Basically, what's going on, and you may have seen me posting about it because I've been going crazy on this for the last. Little, came up with the idea over the weekend. Basically, this is Passover week, so I've stopped writing my normal, 2,500 to 5,000 words a day, and I've been playing around, but my brain won't shut down. So I started working on the Web3 stuff more, and I realized that they've got these QR codes. Well, I've done some Redbubble stuff, basically meme-wear T-shirts kind of stuff. And I got to thinking, hey, if you put these QR codes in all the shirts and whatnot as a pattern, you could make it look, and I did stripes, I did checks, I did mock Argyle, just goofy stuff to try to see. And you could put these in. Well, if you did it, you could see it through a phone, Pokemon Go style. And just like your filters and imagine being able to go to a convention, a fashion show or whatever, and all these people are paying attention to the people on the runway, except that once you pull up your thing, the people in the audience that you handed out your little swag giftware to are more exciting because they've got 3D items floating over their head, wearing on their clothes are actually flames jumping around on their body. Whatever the case may be, the businessman's suit tie that he's wearing that looks just like a patterned tie is actually his business card and his sales pitch. That takes you to a web page. It's got his sales pitch and his business card and all his contact information on it. As soon as you sit in with the tie, imagine the buzz that will cause the first time it comes out. Yes, after it's been out for 3 years, everybody will have seen it and nobody will care because everybody will have it. But for the first 300 businesses that put that into action, the first 300 creators that put that into action, it'll go so viral. That's going to be the same as the Magic Leap whale demo that they did that set the entire world on fire when they had it jumping out of the middle of their tennis court. If you can make it work. And I don't have the technical know-how to make it work. I can get the QR codes into the patterns. I can put them on the goofy little Redbubble garbage shirts and buttons and stuff that they have. But I can't do anything more than that because I just don't know enough. Does anybody here know how well it can do? I know Delight has a app that he uses for his art that I saw it and I went, that's what I need to be them to be able to look through it and do what it is. If you put that with what I'm trying to do, we're halfway home. But I don't know how big the QR code has to be for it to be able to read it. It's multiple times done there, so you've got multiple redundancies. So if something's in a wrinkle or a fold in the cloth, there's multiple chances for it to catch the right one. Thought about that. I'm not, got on. Sorry.
No, cool. I didn't know if you were done or not. But it's a really cool idea. And we did this actually, we tested. So I could also tell you more about the tech side. And then, Delight, if you were going to jump in about your art.
Yeah, either way. I mean, so, yeah. Well, I guess what is the specific question? How do you go about it, or?
How hard was the app to make? Did you have to make it custom? Is it something that's
I made it.
I don't know.
Oh, okay. That's my app that I made. I made it in Unity.
Wow, you did it.
It's Unity.
I have no clue.
Wow, I'm so impressed. It's amazing.
Yeah, it was. I mean, this is back in. I started it in 2012 or so. So and back then Unity was like a total nightmare. But as far as bugs and crashing and stuff, and it's very. There's a lot of components, but it's been 10 years. There's a lot of changes now. It's gotten easier, and you don't have to use Unity. There's a lot of there's several apps that let you work off their, use their app to create your own content. You're right about the stuff with the wrinkles and all that. The problem I would see with what you were putting in the Discord, and if there was a wrinkle, let's say, you just have to get creative with it, put it that way. Because one of the things would be, you get when it locks into the target, which in this case you're using what's called an image target. When it locks into that, then all positioning is relative to that. So let's say you wanted to make a dress and have it surround the person with glowing particles or something like that. You're trying to go off one of these patterns and it's a repeat, then if they're at the bottom versus the middle versus the top, it could throw off the positioning. So you want to be creative in terms of knowing that something's going to happen and you're not sure where it's going to be. Now there's also ways to target, face and shit, which I'm sure you've seen that plenty of places. So it's all. Oh, okay, yeah. You can. That's how Snapchat or Kalau, if you've seen her on some of the other calls on her other computer, she has all sorts of cool filters that are reading her face by looking at her eye, where her eyes are and her nose is, and then it positions accordingly. Okay. So yeah. So you can. There's also geometric, shape targets. There's area targets.
So you can do this, but target on that?
Well, the target is really, okay, how do I know I'm going to start, I being the computer or the app? So
Right.
how does the app know, like, okay, start, this is position 0,0. This is sort of the starting point. You know what I mean? Does that, I don't know if that makes sense.
My point is you could say 0, 0, 0,0 to start on the phase, but what to do, you would read off of the QR code. The QR code would say something to do something. The positioning
you
of
wouldn't,
where you base it off of the phase.
You wouldn't need the QR code. The QR code is essentially an image target. So for my app, for my art, the art itself acts like the QR code. It's a similar, because basically what the app is it's reading contrast and seeing, okay, when I look at this image and I see these different, it's looking for points so that it can identify, oh, this image is different than this other image. So when it's, image A, and I see this sort of pattern of identifiable points, I'm going to do this set of things that the programmer or the artist has set up. And if I see...
Yeah, I'm going to also put
well, not any pattern. Oh, sorry, Kalal. Go ahead.
Yeah, I'm going to put an example also, so maybe it can help to illustrate in the council chat. Yeah, and then also I'd love to see your art too.
What did you say?
So basically, when she gets her Alana tartan that she's wanting to get, she could do that, and that could then be you could program the app to just recognize the Alana tartan, and whenever it sees that,
you can trigger a filter, right?
Oh, hell, I didn't know that. Here, I thought I was being clever.
No, you are clever, and then we're all, I think, excited about this too. Yeah, to build on what you're saying, Delight, I just put a link in that chat. So this is Lillian's filter that we did together, and welcome, Sophia. Sorry, I meant to message you back. I jumped to this call, and that's what also Sophia just recently joined. We're also trying to pair filters with physical garments, and so back in November when we were in Miami, I sewed some physical garments that had a specific square shoulder. So then our filters are kind of like a digital embroidery to kind of amplify the physical piece. And the goal is that you buy less physical and then use filters to kind of augment it, adapt it, to just reduce physical impact. But so that's an example. So the Lillian's, her shoulders and the filter are very square, and it goes with a very square physical piece. But we haven't made the physical yet because it's quite complex to do it properly and sustainably.
I was thinking about that as well, but I was thinking about adding RFID tags.
Yeah.
Because you can get RFID tags in quantity for a nickel a piece. And they're literally just a sticker.
Yeah.
And so if you put those into a flesh toned bodysuit or a black, one-piece bodysuit, well, then they would then be able to literally put all over your body points at every point, just like a green screen, or not a green screen, but a motion capture for the CGI.
Delight, would that work, you think, to capture the body?
Yeah. Basically, really it just comes down to input and output, so it's sort of like anything a computer or device, in this case, could read. It could be turned into, can tweak, you can control the output. If you can get the right input, you can control the output. So whether it's RFID, area targets are working off of just GPS coordinates,
Okay.
And people have exhibitions like that where they show objects in a certain area.
So just up the road from me, there's a company called DigiKey, and they do tons of electronic components. I mean, they're one of the hugest providers of electronic components in the country. And you can get, like I said, RFID tags. I think about the farthest you could probably read them, away is probably 15, 20 feet. So that's going to be your limiting factor in this case. But yeah, I mean, at that point, $2, $3 worth of RFID tags, and you could cover, every 3 or 4 square inches of fabric in this dress, in this bodysuit, and whatever. And then at that point, yeah, I mean, I think you could literally have an entire dress of flames, or your skirt on your ball gown is a actual waterfall. I mean, how cool would that? Talk about making a splash when you walk into the room.
Yeah. So yeah, we're working on this in tech. So if anyone wants to join, Stella's leading it. So we're trying to figure this out because it would be so cool. And like, imagine when we have AR glasses and you see another world but
I wrote the whole book. I wrote a whole book about it. I mean, I get the concept. I got no clue how to implement.
Okay. Well, we'll try. Let's do it. I'm down. But
I've seen these things in real life in different sector in construction.
Yeah.
That's why I have a lot of knowledge about this, and you're absolutely right. RFID tags will work, but even much simpler, right? So just a camera that reads definitions in a space, and then it computes in a 3-dimensional area, like a room or an arena. An example is a robot, right? So in a robot on an assembly line in a factory, I've seen people program just basic code. Actually, the guy was doing machine code in robotic language. He was just taking a really shitty web camera and he programmed a robot to pick up bricks. Now, he did that only with visual analysis of X, Y, Z dimensions, put that into code into an application. And look, you could do that on a person easier enough. If you can identify a brick with a camera, you can identify something material on some clothes or some gloves, or obviously the green screen thing. But I think you can make it really, really, really simple if you know exactly what you're scanning or exactly what area you're trying to focus on. And then all you need is that coordinate in a computer, and then that coordinate goes into an application, and that can be an augmented reality application. So I think that you can simplify the process really, really right down to the elemental basics. If you know a good kind of programmer. And robotics, I think, is probably a good area to look at because they've solved that issue, and I've seen it done in construction and manufacturing. We used RFID tags as well, but that was mostly just for identifying things like pallets going across an assembly line, and then going through a scanner because the range is so small. But yeah.
Like I said, guys, I'm horrible about this. I come up with 1,000 ideas a day, and they bounce around in my head, and they bounce right out my mouth. And most of the time, I have no idea how to implement them. They'd be cool as hell if they work, but, getting them to work, they're over my head most of the time. That's why I'm a writer, because I can put them into the book where I don't have to figure out how they work exactly.
No, it's a cool idea. I'd say I gotta jump soon, but if anybody has any last words, feel free.
I gotta say thank you.
Okay, I've got to go as well. It's very late here, but I just want to say it's fantastic and the work you guys are doing, and I would love to read more at Kalau, your work you showed. I couldn't see because I was on the phone. Where's the link for that again on your
Yeah,
Discord?
I'll post it in council chat, and then I hope next week we'll have the bot ready for the Discord, and then I'm send you all and get your feedback, and looking forward to it.
I put those wiki links in the general chat. I don't know if you saw them.
Perfect. Okay, great.
Thanks so much.
Sounds good. Perfect. Well, thank you guys. Hope it was a good sub. We'll have Stella back next week, I think. So we'll be back in action.
A great sub.
Thanks.
Awesome.
Fantastic. Bye from Scotland.
Great talk.
Bye,
Take care,
guys.
everyone.
Thank you. Have a good day,
Bye.
evening.
And I want to message you. So we, I don't keep everyone on the call and you on the call, but what's a good way to message you?
Send me Discord. It's fine. Or we can just jump.
Okay, like a direct message on Discord?
Yeah, or I'll send you one. And then you can find me easier.
Okay, great.
Perfect.
All right, take care. Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Thank you.
Hey, everyone. Hi, Deep Thought. We were just getting off.
Hey
Thanks
guys,
for-
sorry, yeah, I just went out for a curry tonight. It was a
Ooh.
pre-arranged thing, so I just saw you guys are on. I thought, I'll just jump on just in case, but you're wrapping up. So
Sorry,
that's
did
fine.
that. I recorded it if you want to watch.
Oh, cool. Yeah,
Cool.
I'll record. I'll watch the recording.
Perfect. Thanks,
You
guys.
can get back in
Yeah.
the
See you guys.
story and then the call.
Bye.
All right, take